So before we come to the science for the parents to look at, I want to ask you, you educate these kids, but at that point, the thing had already occurred or the crime had already occurred. So are you taking any steps in terms of educating them before it occurs? For example, how you send things through them to us at home. Do you plan on starting something in school from elementary age kids to learn about human trafficking at their own level?
We have, I mentioned before, for our community forum, we partnered with the Anoka Hennepin School District. We've been having meetings since then, and we're trying to develop, or we will be developing, age-appropriate materials. And so we are going to be doing another forum this fall, and we're also, that was for the community and maybe for the parents, but we are also looking at specific training for our school resource officers and our school liaison officers who are in the schools. They have received baseline training already, so they know what to look for, and they know some of the kids who might get caught up in this more easily than others, and really what to watch for. And so they've received that training on a countywide basis, but we want to bring it to the next level and start bringing it to the students.
Okay.
And because we know there's no better eyes and ears within a school than the student body collective.
So do you think it's really, really important to be talking more about this issue and educating basically?
Yes, it's very, very important for every one of us to know about, be aware of human trafficking. Even the kids should know that there's human trafficking out there, and they are also very much in danger of human trafficking.
We help the youth group make flags, and what the flags stand for, it's just they make a flag of their country. So we all had American flags that we were making, and we just talked to them a little bit about human trafficking, but at their level. We didn't get into the sex trafficking at all. We just got into things to look for. It could happen right in your neighborhood. They were not aware that something like this could still be happening. We kind of got into that, back, 100 years ago with segregation and slavery, and they brought up Martin Luther King even, but that was back then, and they were floored to know that these things could be going on. Still going on with just people that we might know, and we just don't know it.
The Anytime Story and Imprisoned show are looking for media interns.
Hello viewers at home, my name is Bukola Oriola and this is Imprisoned show.
Fall, winter, spring, summer. Help us shoot, direct, and edit Imprisoned show episodes.
Thank you and welcome to the show. Today I have great guests for you.
Photograph and film Anytime Story events.
I'm Sophia Becker-Misha, and I'm here today because I am against human trafficking.
And manage our social media and marketing, and more. Tell us what your media skills are and what you would like to work on. Hours are flexible. Email info@anytime.org for more information.
Imprisoned Show is a show set out to educate the public about human trafficking. It features expert opinions, people, organizations, events on issues surrounding human trafficking around the world. Hello viewers at home, my name is Bukola Oriola and this is Imprisoned Show. It's a show set out to educate the public about human trafficking. Human trafficking is the modern day slavery, and millions of people are being trafficked around the world. And in fact, half of those trafficked, according to statistics, are children. And today we have somebody who has been working on child labor for 20 years coming to talk to us about child labor. But before then, I have with me right here Dr. Sherry Jordon from University of St. Thomas in Minnesota here that will be talking to us about human trafficking and why she incorporated the subject into a classroom. So thank you so much for joining us in the studio today. We really appreciate your coming here.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here.
Human trafficking and how you are educating your students about this in the classroom. So can you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. As you said, I teach at the University of St. Thomas. I teach in the theology department and also the women's studies program. I have a Master's of Divinity degree and a doctorate from Yale University, and I've taught at St. Thomas for 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I can't believe it either.
Oh my goodness. Yes. Okay, so why did you incorporate this subject into the classroom?
That's a good question. The class is Women and the Christian Tradition, and I've taught that class for almost 20 years,
Wow.
and I found that it's a really important class and an interesting class. We look at the Bible, we look at Christian history up to the coming day, but it's really important for the students to realize that these aren't just issues of history, that women are still dealing with issues of human trafficking and rape and other important and horrible conditions today. And not only to know about them, but to also know that they can do something about them. Yes. And so I wanted to have them, this is a really huge issue affecting particularly women and girls, although men and boys also.
Mm-hmm. Because I think the Bible recorded a trafficked person in the person of Joseph.
Exactly, exactly, that's right, yes.
So do you think that when it comes to human trafficking, it does not necessarily have to be a stranger?
Oh, who does the trafficking?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely not. That it can be, from what I understand, oftentimes the way it happens is someone gets close to the victim and manipulates them or coerces them in some way. So it can be, it can also be that. Often it's someone who builds a relationship. Okay,
what about even in the family?
Yeah.
Because in Joseph's case, it was his brothers who sold him to slavery.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And sometimes it is, from what I understand, parents who sometimes sell children because they're in extreme poverty, or it can be a husband who's doing it. It can be, a variety of people who are close.
Okay, and then I would like to ask you about, recommending the subject of teaching human trafficking, not only in your class, but in other classes at every level of education. So what do you think in regards to that?
Oh, it's very important because often it's children, it's young adults who are the victims of this. So giving them the information about it is really crucial. And I know you've had the Anoka County Sheriff on here, and he's doing really wonderful work with reaching out to the Anoka Hennepin School District. Yeah. And I was thinking too in terms of, I'm also involved in a church, United Methodist Church, and that's, the faith communities are also an important place where people are involved, and it's an important place for that information to be given too.
Thanks. And then do you think education will help in terms of prevention?
I think so, yes, because I think, first of all, just giving people the tools to even know that it happens. I know from experience with my university students, and even myself until a few years ago, we didn't realize how prevalent this was. And so knowing what the symptoms are and who's vulnerable, and realizing how many of us are vulnerable to this, that there's a stereotype that it's a third world problem or that it's a limited group of people who are affected by this, but it's a whole wealth of people who can be victims of this.
Okay. We'll be right back.
Hello, my name is Emily Wise. Please join Bucola in the fight against human trafficking by partnering with the Anyton Story. Their mission is to advocate for victims and empower survivors of human trafficking. For more information on that, you can go to or email info@anyton.org. Once a month, we have the Empowerment Circle. You can find more about the Empowerment Circle on our website. Thank you for your time.
Welcome back. This is Imprisoned Show if you are just tuning in. And I have an important guest with me right here. She's Dr. Sherry Jordon from the University of St. Thomas. And we've been talking about human trafficking in the classroom in terms of awareness and teaching. So you had mentioned before we went on break about bringing this even to the faith community, like in the church. So are you recommending that it should be brought even to the kids in the church, for example, in the children's department and the women's group in the church, or how do we want to bring this close to the community as much as we can?
Mm-hmm. I think all of those areas are important. Of course, it has to be age appropriate, but reaching out in the schools, they're reaching out to students. The faith community needs to do that as well. Women's groups are a great place to do it because often these issues affect women predominantly. And they're very good at giving education and using resources and accomplishing a great deal in adult education forums, in sermons. There's a whole variety of ways that a faith community can become educated and know about this.
Okay, without eliminating the men, what can the men do in the church?
Oh, and that's a really good point. This is not just a women's issue. I don't think any women's issue is just a women's issue. Men are an important part of the solution. And so there are a lot of communities have men's groups. They have men who are certainly involved. So you're right, it needs to involve everyone. Everybody is affected by this.
Yeah, in fact, there is an organization called Men Against the Trafficking of Others in Minnesota, trying to educate men about human trafficking. Yes, they've been here once. So in terms of educating men about this, because it seems that sex trafficking is more prevalent or more reported than other forms of trafficking. As someone in the academia, because part of your work is research and finding out things that we cannot find, that we think is not there, but you people know how to find this out. So how can we effectively find out, labor trafficking or organ trafficking because of the fact that it's been underreported?
I'll be honest with you, this is not my area of research, and I do know that it's harder to get statistics for that. I think some of it is when we educate people about it, and when what you're doing now is reaching out to people, and it has to come from people who are either the victims of it or people who have relationships with them and know about it. And so I think the first step is what you're doing, which is educating and giving information and letting people know how they can report it. I think that's really the first step.
Okay, and then another question I have for you is, when the Anoka County Sheriff and the attorney spoke and you heard them, what was a surprising thing that stood up to you when you heard them speak?
Well, I was pleasantly surprised at how much work they're doing and what they've accomplished in the past couple of years, and the fact that they are concerned about this issue and doing things. I knew some of it, but I was aware of that, helped to find out much more. I knew that it was a problem here, but it's one thing to know that hypothetically, and it's another thing to hear people who are in the front lines who experience it. I mean, I think that's why the Anaton story is so important, because statistics are important, but I think what matters more than anything are stories and people, relationships. That's what I think makes the difference.
Thank you. Thanks for mentioning Anaton's story. I'm sure those people will be happy with you. And then, what would you say is the way forward? Because now we have the words out: human trafficking, human trafficking, human trafficking. What is really the way forward for us to have a world where we are preventing before it occurs?
That is really important. My sense is that we need to look at the causes behind it. And some of the factors that make people vulnerable to human trafficking are things like poverty, our gender inequality, And so some of it is looking at some of the factors that make it possible for this to happen. I think something else is having strong communities, whether it's the academic community or the faith community or the local community, providing information and support to children, young adults, anyone who is vulnerable, to try to give them the kind of resources and support so that this doesn't happen.
Thanks. So what do you have to say to victims who are still out there?
That there are individuals and communities that really care about this issue, that there are resources, and this is, the Anoka story is a place to go to, the Anoka County Sheriff's Department is a place to go to, that this is a justice issue, and there are communities that are really informed about it and resources to help.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So thank you. We'll go on a break right now, and we'll have our next guest, Pamela Zimba, here with us talking about child labor. Thank you.
The Anoka Story is a certified nonprofit organization located in Spring Lake Park, Minnesota. Pronounced as Any Ton, the word means someone with a story. The Anoka Story's mission is to advocate for victims and empower survivors of human trafficking and domestic abuse. We advocate for victims by educating the public about the issues surrounding human trafficking in order to reduce the stigma against victims of human trafficking. Whether victims are in or outside of Minnesota, our goal is to turn their tragic stories into stories of survivors by providing them with our resources and connecting them to other resources available in their communities. We aim to empower survivors by providing them with a platform to integrate back into their community and become self-sustainable. Our services include community outreach through public presentations, trainings for hospitals and clinics, schools, churches, and others who are interested. You can find us online at anyton.org and on Facebook. The Imprisoned Show is the Anoka Stories television and online educational program.
Hello viewers at home, my name is Bukola Oriola, and this is Imprisoned Show.
We use it to reach out to the public in Minnesota and around the world. Visit imprisonedshow.com for more information. We recently started a community garden in Anoka County, Minnesota, where we plant ethnic vegetables to provide victims who are not originally from the United States with familiar foods. We are also available to train shelter cooks who are interested in adding international dishes to their menus.
This year we hope to bring you cooking segment. So if you have a dish you would like us to learn about, you can send us a video online on YouTube, send it to Imprisoned Show page on YouTube, or if you are in the Minnesota area, you can invite us and we'll bring the camera to your house.
On the last Friday of every month, the Anoka Story hosts an empowerment circle, a community get-together focusing on a common topic to mentor survivors. We recently started a survivor fund, which we hope to use to help victims and survivors continue their education, start a business, pursue their career of choice, or to use it as an emergency fund to help survivors in times of need.
Welcome back, and if you are just tuning in, this is Imprisoned Show, and right here I have a great guest. She's Pamela Zimba, and she's been working on child labor for 20 years. So she's going to be telling us about this topic, the issue here, and other parts of the world. So thank you so much for joining us in the studio today.
You're welcome.
We really appreciate your coming to talk to us about this subject. Thank you. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, yes, I am newly retired after 39 years of teaching in the Anoka Hennepin School District.
Wow.
And during that 39 years, for the past 20, or almost 20, I have taught a unit that I wrote on the issue of child labor that I taught to my 7th graders.
Wow, great, 7th graders. That is good to know. Yes.
Children with a heart, yes. And the way that this came about, you mentioned, or your earlier guest talked about the Anyton story and the importance of stories in capturing and changing people's lives. That's what happened for me. I was reading the newspaper in April of 1995, doing my everyday normal routine before going to school, and on the front page of the paper at the bottom was a picture of a little boy, and there was a headline that said, "Child Labor Crusader Slain at 12." And I remember being so stunned because, first of all, I thought child labor, that went out at the turn of the century. We don't have child labor. As I continued to read, I was so struck by the fact that I had my own 2 sons were 10 and 14 at the time. This little boy, Iqbal, had been 12 when he was murdered. And I taught 7th graders who were 12 and 13 years old. So that changed my life because I could not turn away from the face of that little boy and also his face. And so I spent the next year doing research on child labor, which led to writing a unit. I know you focus with your organization very heavily with trafficking. Because of the age of my students, I wanted to kind of have them think about the labor behind the label. And so I looked at different industries like clothing, toys. Over the years, I've moved into the chocolate industry, which deals a lot with children who are kidnapped and trafficked from one country to another.
Wow. And in that span of almost 20 years, what were you able to uncover for the children in the classroom?
Well, I could give you all kinds of really moving testimonials from these children because, because I believe that education is the key, that people, for the most part, are of good heart, they have good intentions, and they will take action on behalf of others. So the way I always taught my unit was I would present an issue, here's the problem, but I told the students, I want you to think about what are the solutions. So it was the idea that each of us as individuals can make a difference for change. And so over the course of the years, these children have done absolutely amazing things, both locally in the community, within our school. I taught at Northdale Middle School, and also globally. One year we raised enough money, we built a school in Kenya in connection with the Free the Children organization. The students helped to contribute through UNICEF to opening a school for girls in Afghanistan after the fall of the Taliban. Just all sorts of pieces from, petitions, going to feed my starving children and, donating time. But my focus for them was always about planting seeds, of being an activist and being a person who stands up and says, this is wrong, there's another alternative. And going back to your Anyton story, I always told them, find a face and a story that matters to you and carry that with you, because the story for Iqbal is the one that I carry. And I'm noticing that with in the last year or so, the story of Malala is really capturing the hearts and minds.
Yes, right now, I think was yesterday or today, she went to Nigeria to advocate for bring our girls back.
Right.
Yes.
Right, and that's the other thing that I wanted to try to make an impression with my students was that so often, because we have social media and it's like, what's the greatest story of the day? We forget. And I think that the story about the girls should be front and center every single day. Why aren't we seeing that? So that people understand that we, as a global community, we have a responsibility to each other.
Wow, thanks. You mentioned earlier about, having kids about the age of the story you found.
Right.
And that really hit it home for you
Yes.
to do something. So do you think that people will take action if they find a part of them related to the issue?
Yes, I do, because that was one of the things that was so rewarding for me is to see, so often, and I think adults discount the impact of children to help other children. And even, I have to say just briefly, my last year of teaching, there was a group of, there was two boys to start with, Abraham and Tyler. And unbeknownst to me, when I was teaching the child labor unit, they decided that they wanted to form a group called Youth for Change. And then they expanded it to a core group of 11 students. And they have been doing phenomenal things for the last 2 years at Northdale Middle School, both in the community. This year they did a fundraiser for a student who was ill. They've also, did a fundraiser to put in clean water systems in Africa. These are 12 and 13-year-old boys, and their hearts are in the right place, so they're continuing. And now this fall they'll be at Blaine High School, and they're going to continue their work. That's about the power of connecting with someone's heart and understanding that you can make a difference for somebody else.
And that it doesn't matter the age too.
Right, exactly.
Wow. We'll need to go on a break now, and we'll be right back. Please don't go away, stay with us, we'll be right back.
Can you believe they took all of them, all these kids, just for the wants and the needs? Imprisoned show.
Thanks for staying with us. If you are just tuning in, this is Imprisoned Show, and I have a great guest in the studio. She's Pamela Zimba, who has been working on child labor for about 20 years. So thank you. You were talking about youth doing something and what you find and how that has taught you to be, ministering to these children in your class and teaching them. So I want to ask, have you noticed anything locally here in terms of child labor compared to what it's outside globally?
Well, when you say locally, I'm going to take that to the national level, because one of the things that's showing up on the news a lot lately is about what happens in the agricultural industry. Once again, I think sometimes people think, oh, migrant workers, well, that was something from 20 or 30 years ago, and Cesar Chavez fought that battle in California, and now it's done. But there are news reports, special reports that are coming out of the southeastern part of the United States about the tobacco farms, and that those children that are picking the leaves and things are ending up with nicotine poisoning and working tremendous hours under blazing heat. So we have issues to address right here in the United States. On a lighter note, one of the things I've just become aware of that made me feel good about people's efforts is going on over at the U.S., is it the USA Cup, the soccer match?
Yes.
The first ever team of girls from India is playing. And why is that? Because a young man from Edina, Minnesota went to live in India, and he worked with girls who were in poverty, who didn't have many options, taught them how to play soccer, and here they are. I mean, that's the kind of activism that changes lives. Those girls will be able to be in the world in a different way, and that really matters to me. So yes, there are issues, right here in our own communities that need addressing.
And you talked about the issue with the tobacco and being poisoned by nicotine. Did they say the age range of the kids involved in that or no?
A lot of the children are very young. They might be 4, 5, 6 years old into teenage years. And one of the things that struck me so much hearing that story, it also has to do with all the pesticides, but it's identical to what happens with the boys who are trafficked into the Ivory Coast to pick the beans in the cocoa plantations. You're two
Yes.
worlds apart, supposedly, but you have children who are being abused and mistreated.
Yes.
And, we supposedly have laws to prevent that.
And those kids, were they immigrant kids or were they American-born children?
Most of them are immigrant children. I don't know that all of them are, but the majority. These are stories that I have just seen like in the last couple of weeks. But I know that there's a large issue in the agricultural industry in the United States in terms of children who are working that shouldn't be.
So are you saying we need to start paying attention to all those kind of industries? Because
Yes.
there might be labor traffic victims or child labor in those industries.
Yes, and that was why when I framed my unit for my students, we always talked about the labeling. What's the labor behind the label? Because you can look at your clothing, you can look at a toy, you can look at your food, you can find out where things are made. And then with a social conscience, with a moral compass of what's right and wrong, you can make choices to improve the lives of children.
So apart from these kids doing fundraising or going around to speak in the community, what else can they be empowered with?
They have done all sorts of things. I mean, I had a girl, Bonnie, one year, and what she did is she wanted to raise awareness for people to embrace tolerance for other cultures. So she took the issue of clothing, and instead of looking at it as, the abusive part of the children working in factories, she put on a fashion show with different ethnic styles from within our school to show people these are all the different backgrounds. Let's embrace each other with tolerance. I've had students who have written poetry. I've had students who have created songs that they've posted on YouTube. There have been just a myriad of things. Kids who have done cartooning, who have done small movies that they've posted. There are so many outlets and options, and I always talk to them about what are your talents? Whatever your talent is, because we all have one at least, you can use that to affect change, to improve the lives of others.
Great. Thanks. So what will be your word for those who are still out there held in captivity in terms of human trafficking, labor or sex or whatever kind of trafficking?
One word, I would say hope. Don't give up. Don't give up hope, because I firmly believe that people really do care. And that when you make people aware, like you're doing through your story and through your show, that it, again, we talked about this earlier, you connect with the heartstring, and then you say, I can't turn away from this, I can't ignore this. Even in my own small way, what can I do to make a difference? And that's the key, because then we link one person to another, and we become stronger.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you for staying with us this time. You've heard the guests talk about human trafficking and teaching it in the classroom, and the guests who also talk about child labor, around the world. We hope to see you next time. Thank you for staying with us this time. God bless you. If you have questions, please send them to info@imprisonshow.com. Bye-bye, and God bless you.
The Anytone Story and Imprisoned Show are looking for media interns.
Hello viewers at home, my name is Bukola Oriola and this is Imprisoned Show.
Fall, winter, spring, summer. Help us shoot, direct, and edit Imprisoned Show episodes.
Thank you and welcome to the show. Today I have great guests for you.
Photograph and film Anytone Story events.
I'm Sophia Becker-Misha, and I'm here today because I am against human trafficking.
And manage our social media and marketing, and more. Tell us what your media skills are and what you would like to work on. Hours are flexible. Email info@anytone.org for more information.
Part of our work is referral because no one organization can do everything alone.
Yeah.
We have to work together as one family, serving different population or demographics, and then also providing various services. And for us, with the Anytone Story, I found out that there are so many kind of services for victims, but there's almost nothing for survivors.
Yeah.
So how do survivors integrate back into the community? Instead, what I see going on is survivors are being exploited for their victim story.
Yeah.
And as survivors, they keep labeling them as victims instead of survivors to give support to and empower to be able to give back.
Yeah.
If they want to give back into the community. So our goal is to be able to help survivors integrate back, and it's beyond just providing housing or food, which is like the common thing, like shelter and food and everything is done. No, it's beyond that. How do we help them to be self-sustainable? How do we help them to get a job? And then how do we help them beyond getting a job if they have their own business or they have passion for a skill? How do we empower them for that business to prosper? For example, I always use myself as an example because of all the challenges I've seen through all of this. For example, with my hair braiding business, I knew that what I needed was marketing and the right marketing. But then there is no adequate funding to be able to do the marketing. So what the Anytone Story will be doing is trying to connect with marketing companies out there and saying, donate hours to us and help us serve this person by providing marketing services to this survivor.
If there's someone that you're working with that, like you said, an immigration issue, now they would have to come to us on their own. So I mean, if you were to say we're working with someone who has an immigration issue, you could help, because we do that casework here, and we're pretty successful with it in getting things going. They may have to contact us directly and say we need help, but we are a resource for that also.
take you along a winding path. It will take us to somewhere we'll never turn back. You'll heal from the pain that's been laid upon you. Just feel the sun that's trying to shine through. Don't give up now. Life will get better. Just take my hand and you'll understand that you're not alone. And I'm here by your side. You can hold on to me and I'll help you break free. Let's tear through this wall. It's been black in you. There's a brand new side that's waiting just for you. You've got what it takes, so find the strength that's inside of you and let it carry you through. So come with me to a faraway place. I'll mend all your fears and dry all your tears. It's not your fault. Thank you.
We light this candle in honor of victims who have lost their lives as a result of human trafficking, and we hope that their soul rests in perfect peace.
The Anytone Story is a certified nonprofit organization located in Spring Lake Park, Minnesota. Pronounced as Anytun, the word means someone with a story. The Anytun Stories mission is to advocate for victims and empower survivors of human trafficking and domestic abuse. We advocate for victims by educating the public about the issues surrounding human trafficking in order to reduce the stigma against victims of human trafficking. Whether victims are in or outside of Minnesota, our goal is to turn their tragic stories into stories of survivors by providing them with our resources and connecting them to other resources available in their communities. We aim to empower survivors by providing them with a platform to integrate back into their community and become self-sustainable. Our services include community outreach through public presentations, trainings for hospitals and clinics, schools, churches, and others who are interested. You can find us online at anytun.org and on Facebook.
Prison show is what I know.
The Imprisoned Show is the Anytun Stories television and online educational program.
Hello viewers at home, my name is Bukola Oriola and this is Imprisoned Show.
We use it to reach out to the public in Minnesota and around the world. Visit imprisonedshow.com for more information. We recently started a community garden in Anoka County, Minnesota, where we plant ethnic vegetables to provide victims who are not originally from the United States with familiar foods. We are also available to train shelter cooks who are interested in adding international dishes to their menus.
This year we hope to bring you cooking segment. So if you have a dish you would like us to learn about, you can send us a video online on YouTube. Send it to Imprisoned Show page on YouTube, or if you are in the Minnesota area, you can invite us and we'll bring the camera to your house.
On the last Friday of every month, the Anytun Story hosts an empowerment circle, a community get-together focusing on a common topic to mentor survivors. We recently started a survivor fund, which we hope to use to help victims and survivors continue their education, start a business, pursue their career of choice, or to use it as an emergency fund to help survivors in times of need.